Hi, welcome to 340. My name is Sam. I'm the TA for this class in spring 2021. I'm going to show you how to get the right software that you need on your computer to interact with the lecture material and that you'll need later to do assignments and submit them on GitHub. So first of all, I'm just sitting here on my desktop and we can go over to the course website at mas.cs.iit.edu/cs340. I am this person. You can find me on Discord almost all the time. So my office hours will be there that are listed here. Professor Lee's office hours are listed here. They are also on Discord. And pretty much everything that you need to know, or a link to everything that you might need on your computer in either software or like lecture material, is listed on this website somewhere. It's very concise. All of this will be done through GitHub. So if you don't yet have a GitHub account, please navigate over to github.com. And I'm already signed in, but go ahead and create your own account on GitHub. But once you've done that, you're going to need Git. So if you've never worked with Git before, Git is essentially the industry standard in what we call version control. And this is how we save, reorder, document the history of a piece of code. So you're going to want to head over to this Git SCM website. There's a link to it on our course website under Development Tools. Go to Git and get for whatever system you're on the software there. That being said, the things I will do in this video are download our lecture material from the repository where that is stored and work with it in VS Code. So there are a bunch of different ways that you can work with a file. If you have a preferred code editor already, feel free to use it. I'm going to demonstrate doing this in VS Code because VS Code has a built-in version control system that works directly with the Git that you will have just installed. So that being said, the two next things on our list that we want to have downloaded are the Haskell stack and Visual Studio Code. This Glasgow Haskell compiler is important and we will use it, but the wonderful thing about the Haskell stack is that it will do that download for us and set up the compiler for us if we start with this. So let's navigate over to the Haskell stack website. I'm on Windows, so here is the installer for me. If you are on Mac OS or Unix, you will follow one of these two commands, but because I am on Windows, I will download this installer. One thing you'll want to make sure is that these two boxes are checked. These allow you to use the stack command in your command line no matter where on your computer you are. Once that installation is complete, we can go ahead and close that and we'll navigate back to our course website, go to Visual Studio Code and download it for your machine. Again, I'm on Windows, but if you're on something else, it's right there. Okay, so once you've finished that, we can go ahead and launch it and finish that installation. I'm going to go back to the course website here and close that for now. And here we are in Visual Studio Code. So to be clear, Visual Studio Code is just an editor. It's a way of editing code. It supports every language I've ever tried to edit with it before, or if it doesn't, you can usually download a plugin that will allow Visual Studio Code to interact with that language or project or package very nicely. It's a really widely used piece of software. So we want to use Git. Visual Studio Code by default has Git integration, so it ships with Git integration. If you have already downloaded Git on your system, then all you need to do to use it is go up to, let's see, where is it? View, and then SCM, which stands for Source Code Management, right? We'll click that. And we'll get this source control window, and we're going to want to clone a repository. So we'll get back to that. One of the other things listed on our website here is the lecture repository. So this is where the code is that Professor Lee is using in class directly. If we follow this through, it'll take us to the repository on GitHub where all of those lectures are stored. So inside this folder here, you have probably seen him interact with these files. If not, that's fine. If you would like to interact with them on your own machine in the same way that he does, I'm going to show you how to do that here. So The name of it is CS340 PPP, Programming Paradigms and Patterns / lectures. That's where the repository is. Okay, so now we have Visual Studio Code open. We have our repository on the right, and we can go ahead and try to clone repository in Visual Studio Code and clone from GitHub. So if you have not already used the GitHub extension within Visual Studio Code, you'll need to authorize you'll need to authorize Visual Studio Code to access your GitHub account. So we'll say allow. It'll open up in our browser. You should already be signed into your GitHub account, or if you're not, it will prompt you to sign in. And we're going to authorize GitHub to access our Visual Studio. Great. All right. I've struggled. Sometimes this is a little difficult to get to work. If for some reason it hasn't already worked, follow these instructions really closely. You can copy what is here. Click signing into GitHub down in the bottom left of your VS Code window. Paste that token in and hit enter. And we're good. So we don't need this window anymore. So now if we do clone repository, it actually recognizes that we are who we just said we are. This is a repository that I already had in my GitHub account. This is my school GitHub, so I only have the one. And if that's not the one I'm working on, you may have no repositories there. That's completely fine. We're going to look for this lecture repository, which is public. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in. Okay, great. So it found it. It was there. And now because these are actual files that need to be stored somewhere, we have to tell it where we'd like to store those files. I'm just going to do it on my desktop for the sake of having it visible in a moment. I'm going to create a new folder called CS340 and have it just put it right inside that folder. So now it's done. It's cloned the whole repo. And if I get this window, I can find it in my Visual Studio Code. So it's now opened that folder in Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go ahead and find it on my actual desktop. It's here in 340 in lectures, which is the repository we just cloned, the lectures repo. And here are all those files. They're right here. So this is exactly the same as what's going on here. If I go into source, you can see all of the lecture files in their full glory. And this main HS, which just prints hello world. Okay, great. Let's see. I'm going to close Chrome, but keep Visual Studio Code open. And I'm going to open command prompt. So here is my command prompt here. So we're going to use command prompt to interact with these files because that's one of the places that we can use stack from, right? So if I type stack here, this is the thing that we downloaded earlier from, if I go back to the course website, this is the Haskell stack application. So if you added it to your path, then when you type stack in command prompt, you should get a bunch of instructions on how to use it. Great. So now we will navigate to where our code is. I saved mine on my desktop in a folder called CS340, and the repository itself was called lectures, so I know it was right here. And I can see all of the things that are present here in my command line. Now, we are going to build our code. So if this is your first time using stack and the Haskell GHC on your computer, this command will probably take a while. Not only does it have to build all of these different Haskell files, but the bigger part is that it has to actually go and download that Glasgow Haskell compiler that we didn't download earlier. So you can do this on your own if you're comfortable downloading a compiler, putting it in the right place on your PC. It's a little easier on Mac and Linux than it is on Windows. But the stack tool will handle it for you if you've gotten to this point without doing that download. So we have navigated to where our app is, and because of this package.yaml file, it knows exactly what to build, how to build it, and what it needs to do that building. So we will just run in our command line stack build here. So this may take quite a while. That's all right. Be patient with it. If it doesn't, great. But it might take quite a while depending on what you already have on your computer. Looks like mine is finishing up. You can see it compiled through every single one of these lecture files. Yep, and we're done. Okay, so I already have the compiler on my PC. If you did not, that command probably took upwards of a couple minutes. So go ahead and pause if yours is not done. So once it is done building, we can now test whether or not we've done everything correctly. So we have finished the build, and now in that exact same place, we can just run stack run. And our hope is that it will do the only thing defined in this main.hs file here, which is to print hello world, right? And if you successfully get that in your console, you've done everything correctly, you're ready to interact with all these files. Nicely done. So let's see, let's try to work with this lecture 01 file. So in this lecture 1 file, let's try to get this welcome to print. So if we type stack here, we can see that one of the commands available to us is stack ghci, which is the Glasgow Haskell compiler in interactive mode, right? So if I want to run this lecture 1 file interactively, I can say stack ghci, and specifically where this is in source/lecture, lecture 01, source/lect lecture 1.lhs. Okay, that'll load. You'll see our prompt contains that file. It means we have that file loaded in our ghci. And now we can just call this function here. Great. Worked exactly as we hoped it would. And that should work for anything in this file now that we've loaded it. If we get whatever is in mystery var here, it's 3. Well done. Nice job. And that's all there is. One thing to note is that if I am in an interactive session here, and I want to make a change to my file, like welcome is defined as it was, and I would like to add a change to that string, right, to that welcome string or whatever it is. If I type that over here after saving the file on the left, it won't be reflected right away. I have to first reload the files. So I can do that with :r, which will recompile that lecture 1 file, or any file that is included in your interactive session that you've made a change to outside of the program. And now when I type welcome, my change will be reflected. So then you can quit out of ghci with :quit, or just :q works also, and you'll be back at your command line. One final thing that you may want to do, or that I highly recommend you do, right now all of this code is entirely in white, and syntax highlighting is very nice. It helps us read code. So one thing you may want to do is go into the extensions tab over here on the left and look for the Haskell syntax highlighting extension and install that. Then if I go back to my file, I'll see that I have these lovely colors differentiating strings and keywords or whatever it is. All right, thank you for watching. If you had trouble with any part of this process or would like help doing something that I did not include here, just let me know on Discord. I'm available very often. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this course. I think it's a lot of fun.